Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about another rumor for the Houston Rockets going into this offseason. And today, not only former Houston Rockets guard, we're going to be talking about another Rockets point guard who could be reuniting with the Houston Rockets this offseason. It feels like everybody might be coming back. James Harden's expected to sign, and Chris Paul is a potential trade target for the Rockets if James Harden doesn't sign here. Yesterday, Austin Rivers, who's point guard / shooting guard, played here for a season and a half, was asked on Twitter on a Q&A, was asked if he would, play for the Rockets again. He said, why not? He was also asked on that Q&A what he thought about Udoka and Jalen Green. He said he likes both, and he thinks Udoka's great for Jalen Green's development. So, looking like we know Harden wants to return, and what it sounds like Patrick Beverly, who we're going to talk about in this video, wants to return. I don't know if Chris Paul wants. I don't think Chris Paul wants to come back here. I think the Rockets are interested in him, but I just think he's a backup plan and kind of want to mentor if Harden doesn't come back. But I do believe James Harden is coming back. Austin Rivers, I feel like he feels like he could maybe be a good mentor, but I don't think he's really going to come back to the Rockets. But maybe if they give him a call, he'll think about it. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it's a nice rumor. But James Harden, I actually do believe the James Harden signing is gonna happen, and I actually do believe Patrick Beverly could happen. Patrick Beverly on his podcast today, the Pat Bev podcast on Roan, I think Roan, is it Roan Barstool Sports? I believe that's what it is. What's the podcast is called? His partner in the podcast, I can't remember. I see him on TikTok all the time, but the guy he does the podcast with asked him, with it looking like James Harden, maybe coming back to Houston, could you see yourself going back there this offseason? He was asking that on the pod, and Beverly said that there's a really high chance that could happen. Pat Bev said that the Rockets were one of his top choices so Beverly was on the Lakers last year. And when he was on the Lakers, he got traded in a trade with the Magic with Mo Bamba. I think Beverly and a couple second-round picks got sent to the Magic, and the Lakers got Mo Bamba in return. And Magic, with having a young team, didn't need Patrick Beverly on their roster, a team full of young guards, and there would have been no room. And not only did Beverly probably didn't want to play in Orlando, so the two sides agreed on a contract buyout, and Beverly signed with the Bulls. But Beverly said that one of his top choices was the Rockets, but the Rockets said, Pat Bev, you're not going to get minutes here. You're going to be a mentor to our young guys. You want to play. You're not going to play here. And that's what they basically told him. And so he went to Chicago. But he said that there's a very high chance that he will reunite with James Harden in Houston. And I love this for the Rockets. Now, like I said, I've seen him and his buddy on their podcast on TikTok before. And I've also heard Patrick Beverly says he thinks he could get $15 million a deal. We're staying away from that. I think, honestly, when I go back to that, I heard Beverly say a couple weeks ago he thought after I think it was after the season was over, after the Bulls got eliminated in the play-in game, Beverly thought he could get $15 million a year in free agency. I think that was just a goal. I think he knows he's not going to get 15 mil. I mean, players like Austin Rivers is in the area of getting 13 million, 13 to 15 a year. Cam Johnson, one of the top free agents, is going to get 17 to 18 a year. Pat Bev is not going to get more than Reeves or the same amount of Reeves, or just I honestly think the Rockets. I think he is worth a little bit just because of his aggressive defense and his decent scoring, his decent passing. I think he's worth a little bit. Maybe a 1 year $5 million deal, a 1 year maybe $6.5 million. I think in the area of 5.5 million to 6.5 million on a 1 year contract, and to return to the Rockets with James Harden and be the backup point guard off the bench. Rockets want decent shooting. He's a decent shooter. He's not a great shooter. I think he shot 34% from three last year. He averaged 6.5. Well, he averaged 6 points per game with the Bulls, but didn't play that much with them. And then spent most of his time with the Lakers. Averaged 6.5 with the Lakers. But that's a team with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. He wasn't on that team to score. And I don't think he's going to be on this team to score either. He's gonna average. Honestly, if Patrick Beverly signed with the Rockets, he'd probably average the same amount of points he's averaging on the Bulls or the Lakers, if not less. So I don't think it's going to change much. I think Beverly can maybe put up more shots than he did with the Lakers. I'm not going to say the Bulls because he did take way more shots with the Bulls than the Lakers. But I would be down for it. The Rockets are looking to improve on defense. They're looking to get veterans in the roster that will be good mentors. I think Patrick Beverly is an amazing mentor. They're looking to get good defense, solid shooting. I think, Beverly struggles as a shooter, but I think with how bad of a shooting team the Rockets were last season, Beverly's an amazing shooter coming in. I mean, Beverly's not a great shooter, but at all. I mean, he'll shoot around 30 to 35%, but the Rockets were terrible from three last season, and his aggressiveness on defense, him and James actually had a really decent relationship when they played each other in Houston, because he was the starting point guard. He was the starting point guard in 16-17. He was the starting point guard in 15-16. And I believe he was this. I'm not sure on this, but I think he was the starting point guard in 14-15. And he averaged 10 points per game in 3 seasons in a row. I think one season he averaged like 10.2, one 10.1, and then exactly 10. But then the Rockets, when they traded for Chris Paul, had to include him in that deal. Sent Patrick Beverly, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, and I think a couple first round, if not a couple, I think 2 or 3 first round, maybe 2 or 3 first round picks, and then one more player to the Clippers for Chris Paul. Beverly was a part of that trade. Next season, Beverly goes with the Clippers. His first year with the Clippers averaged 12.7 points per game. So went up 2 points per game after he left the Rockets. But he spent his time in Houston from 2012. 2013 was his first year here. He didn't do much. He averaged like 5 points that year. And then was with us all the way until 16-17 till we traded him. I mean, he loved it here. I mean, he was here for about 5 years. So, 5 years. So, I could honestly if James is going to come back, I could honestly see Pat Bev come back with him. It's not going to be like it was before. Patrick Beverly was the starting point guard when these two guys play together. Now Patrick Beverly's going to come off the bench. Beverly's not coming to be Beverly's not coming to be the starting point guard. Beverly's coming to be the backup point guard, which I think is solid. I think he's a solid backup point guard. His aggressiveness on defense, good mentor. I think he'd be a really solid backup point guard for the Houston Rockets, and it'd be a really underrated signing for the Houston Rockets. I'm thinking if we can, sign James, sign Patrick Beverly, sign Cameron Johnson, draft, I don't know who we draft. I guess we would draft Jarice Walker in this case, with that 4th overall pick. So then you would have the starting lineup be James Harden. The starting lineup would be James Harden, Jalen Green. Then the 3 would be Cam Johnson. The 4 would be Jabari Smith Jr. The 5 would be Alperen Sengun. Then off the bench would be Patrick Beverly, and then Kevin Porter Jr., Jarice Walker, and then I guess maybe someone. I guess who else? Tari Eason. So Tari Eason and KJ Martin. So I mean that's a solid bench right there. But I don't think. I think if Beverly's coming in, I don't really see the Rockets drafting. I guess you could draft Amen Thompson if Beverly's still on the roster, because Amen Thompson could slide over to the 3. That could happen. Draft instead of drafting Walker, you could draft Amen, and then the backup 1 would be Patrick Beverly. The backup 2 would be Kevin Porter Jr. The backup 3 would be Amen Thompson. The backup 4 would be Tari Eason, and then I guess your backup 5 would be. Let's just go with Usman Garuba. Let's just go with Usman Garuba. So, but I don't think Garuba would be getting a lot of minutes. So, I mean, that's a solid team right there. The bench is a little small with Amen Thompson, Patrick Beverly, and Kevin Porter Jr. But at the same time, I think when Alp's off the floor in this lineup prediction, if this lineup is this lineup comes to life, I think when Alp's off the floor, when Alperen Sengun is taking rest, I think Jabari's going to be at the 5 in this lineup. So it's not like there's not a backup 5 in that 9-man rotation, because if Alp is not in the game, Jabari's in the game, and he's the backup 5. And then if Jabari's not in the game, LP has to be in the game. So basically, you can't have either one of those guys rest in this scenario for the Rockets. And signing Pat Bev, signing Cam Johnson, signing James Harden, and then drafting Amen Thompson in that kind of lineup for the Rockets. Amen Thompson coming off the bench with KPJ and Pat Bev and Tari Eason. You can't really have one of Jabari Smith or Alperen Sengun off the floor for the Rockets in that lineup scenario. Or if, one of them needs some rest, I guess Usman Garuba could come in for a couple minutes, possibly. But that's a crazy lineup, prediction for the Rockets. If it all would happen, it would be crazy. The Rockets could afford it all. They really could. They could afford all three of Patrick Beverly, James Harden, and Cam Johnson. I think it definitely could happen. It's realistic for it's affordable for the Rockets to get the Beard, Beverly, and Cam Johnson. It's going to be interesting to see if this is something the Rockets can do and get done. But I think it's a long way. It's a long ways to go to figure out what's going to be going on in Houston. But I think right now for the Rockets, the three most likely players that are going to sign with the Rockets as of right now are James Harden, Patrick Beverly, and Cameron Johnson. I think those are the three most likely free agents that are likely to come to Houston this offseason. I'm excited. I think Beverly would be a great addition for off the bench and for the defense and the mentor, and have him play a little bit with James Harden as they played really well together in Houston from 2012 to the 2012-13 season all the way to 2017 in the playoffs when their road was over against the Spurs in the second round, and then Beverly got traded to the Clippers. So they worked really well together, but the Rockets needed to make a big trade, and there went Beverly. So Beverly played really well in that 16-17 season. It'll be interesting to see if he comes back to the Rockets for a way less smaller role on the roster as a backup. But use them your thoughts, and that's a video because I enjoyed, and peace out. Go Rockets.